Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Western Hunter Podcast. Kevin Guillen's with me here today. And our special guest is Bruce Pettet and Nick Kytlica.
Good job.
Kytlica, you got it right.
You got it. Gosh, you passed the test.
I only got to practice twice before we hit the record button, so I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
But both these gentlemen are with Leupold, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves and your position and give us a little history on your history.
Yeah, I'm Bruce Pettet. I'm the CEO of Leupold and Stevens, and just do whatever I have to do to keep us making rifle scopes every day here in Oregon. So,
and it is in our world we always compress it to Leupold. Just Leupold. There's Leupold and Stevens.
Yeah, Leupold and Stevens is that's our corporate name. So that's we obviously our brand is Leupold, but the Stevens family was integral in building the company, as was of course the Leupold family, and so. We're still a fifth generation family owned business, and both of those families have been keys to this 117 years of success that we've had. So I always try to make sure that the Stevens family gets mentioned as well when we're talking about what we actually do. So,
yeah, absolutely. And Nick?
Yeah, Nick Kytlica. I'm the shooting sports marketing manager. So on the marketing side, I deal with our professional shooting team, all the tactical stuff, content. I've been at Leupold 18 years now, which I'm still kind of a newbie. There's a lot of people there that have been 20, 30 plus years, and bounced around a bunch of different departments. And I got my dream job now, honestly. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate I get to do what I do.
Yeah. And those of you listening that not actually watching this, you're probably, or the people that are watching it are probably going, man, that Nick guy's a lot younger, pretty young for being there 18 years. How old were you?
I got a lot of gray up here in the beard. How old was I? 20, 25, 26?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, and the funny thing is I didn't actually know what Leupold was when I started there. I didn't grow up hunting or shooting or anything like that. But it didn't take me long to get into it.
Yeah.
Super into it.
Yeah, apparently.
So, yeah.
We watched you shoot today. You're into it.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm super competitive by nature. I grew up playing every sport possible. So I gravitated towards that competitive shooting side. Right. So I love it. Yeah.
He's also, Nick, yesterday, we're out at the shooting range today, but yesterday we were in the factory and Nick was our tour guide. And you definitely understand the process of making a rifle scope from raw material in the back door to the packaging going out the.
Yeah. It's the benefit of me starting in the product service department. And like I mentioned to you guys, I got to see all the products, all the whole breadth of products, and then torn apart, all the internal parts. I ran the custom shop for a number of years. So we got to again, tear scopes apart, build them back up in the way we wanted to. I've worked in the sales department, so I'm familiar with the sales side of the business as well as the manufacturing. And I know enough to be dangerous on the manufacturing side. Right. But it's cool everything in Leupold's under one roof.
Yeah.
So to be able to see, like you said, the whole process from start to the box product coming off the line is pretty special.
Yeah, and we probably talked for 3 hours, the tour. I mean,
and I said we could have gone longer.
Yeah,
right?
I could have gone longer too. Like that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how long those tours normally go, but like felt like at every phase we could have sat there for an hour and it would have been so interesting. Like especially the reticle stuff was just that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah. A lot of people just don't realize, the craftsmanship that goes into making our rifle scopes. They think, you just pop it in one side of a machine and it comes out the other. And the reality of like a Mark V having over 220 parts and being able to, make sure they're absolutely perfect. Because if they're not, it's not going to be accurate, right? And it's not going to do what we need to do in terms of its ruggedness and ability to work at any altitude, any temperature, and the kind of things that are so critical to that product that, those folks that work in our factory really are craftsmen. I mean, and to be able to, to be at a level to work in our factory takes not only a lot of training, but just a lot of time, doing that specific job.
Yeah.
So one of the things that blew me away was how much time and manpower and square footage is dedicated to just tooling. Like, building the tools to build the product, like the pieces.
Yeah, you
And
can't
that
buy it
was-
at Harbor Freight.
Right. And
No.
nor is it like probably the most, there's probably tools that you could buy, but
Mhm.
they may not be the best for your specific proprietary part that you're building. And like I can't remember his name, but that one gentleman that was sitting at the machine, he's like, that's all he's doing today is
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
And sharpening tools. Which was,
Nils down in the tool
Nils,
room there.
yeah.
So,
Nils.
that was what we were talking about, controlling every aspect of the build.
Yeah.
And that's not only the parts, but like you said, the tooling as well, which plays into the performance and the accuracy of all the parts, and, in proprietary knowledge and craftsmanship too. Having that in-house too is fantastic.
Yeah, we have to work on that equipment because, there's just really no way else to do it. And it's so critical to our operation because we are kind of at capacity. And if we have equipment down at all and we can't get it up and going and understand how to do that, then, we're in a tough spot.
So we talk a lot about, and I guess I've written a couple articles, and just our whole magazine and our whole organization is just really into American manufacturing. And, there's a lot of companies out there doing it in a number of different ways, but it was my first experience being able to be on the ground floor of actually seeing what American manufacturing like is and looks like. From the people, like it was really cool. Just there was a sense of the culture was obviously there, even on a pretty busy, hectic machine floor. It was, you could cut it with a knife. Like you could just sense that there was like a mindset, an efficiency. It was surprisingly clean, given how much aluminum shavings and stuff's everywhere, and how much oil and grease and stuff is everywhere. But it was really, really cool to see, like really what it looks like in the real world. And I think, I wish more people and we took some awesome footage, and we'll be able to put a video together about that. But I wish more people in this country could see that and experience that. And I think we get a better sense of like the real value of American manufacturing, not even just in the product, but in the culture and the community and in the whole, network that impacts.
It's world class. I mean, what you saw was world class manufacturing. I'm so proud of that because, it's one reason that no one else does what we do. I mean, I think that, one of the things that most people don't understand is you think about, a premium optic like we make and the level of performance and quality, but we do it at scale.
Yeah.
We don't make them one at a time.
Right.
We actually have figured out how to do it in a fairly good sized business, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people don't get. I mean, that's why, all the time we hear, this company or that company, we're going to make them in America. We're going to do this. We're going to make our scopes here. And I haven't seen them be very successful, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
The barrier of entry there.
Yeah.
is
You go through
extreme.
that and you go, man, that's really hard. And so
Just like that two things impressed me. But yesterday, the one thing that impressed me is like a spacer. You have a multi-million-dollar machine dedicated to a spacer.
Yeah.
It has to be absolutely perfect.
perfect.
Yeah, all those 200 and some odd parts, every one of them has to be perfect. And when you see the call it a screw for the elevation and windage adjustment, just those threads have to be absolutely perfect.
It's less than your hair, the tolerance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's super, super fine.
And then then the second thing that impressed me as we went through the entire day and we're looking at all the checks and balances and all the quality control steps, all the way to the recoil testing, all the way to boxing. If you buy a Leupold scope and then you think you have a scope problem, you probably don't have a scope problem. I'm going to bet if you have a problem, it's not the scope, guys. It's because the number of checks and balances and the QC that goes into the whole process is it's amazing.
Well, the
It really
size
is.
of the product services area in
Yeah.
comparison,
Yeah.
in relation to the rest of the factory floor, is kind of proof of that. Like it doesn't take, 50 people or, hundreds of square feet to be able to service the products because there's just not that much to service.
Well, the other thing is that on the product service thing, it was amazing. Is I'm looking at this rack that's one of the guys is working on scopes that have been sent in for some type of repair. Most of those boxes are damn near as old as I am, because you guys, I mean, you're truly fixing a scope that was made 50 years ago. And you're still fixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's another challenge with the lifetime guarantee that, I'm sure some people are not happy that we started that, but we were the first to do that. And it's the amount of parts you have to keep and have in inventory that you may or may not use, but you got to have them. If that guy sends that very X2 in from, 5 years ago, you need to You need to
You
have that.
every single part essentially.
Yeah, you got to be able to.
and the skill behind like working on stuff that was 50 years old and 2 weeks old and
Right.
everything in between.
Yeah.
And there's little nuanced differences with those old scopes
Oh, yeah.
too.
No, I bet.
And like, knowledge that's been passed down over generations of how they work. So
You know what's interesting. So sometimes we'll run into a situation where someone will send us a scope that we can't repair. Say it's 20, 30 years old, whatever, and we've had to teach our team to never ever throw that scope away. Like we'll give him another scope, right? So we may send him whatever he sends in. We send him a VX3 now or something like that. You can't throw it away because it's also a family heirloom.
Yeah.
So like, okay, that's fine. You can send me another scope, but I want that one back.
Right.
Because that is, something that I shot my first year with, and
Right.
my son shot his first year. I
had this realization, and Chris and I had this realization while we were on the tour yesterday, but my first scope that my grandfather handed down to me had a Very X2, I believe, on it.
Mhm.
It was old. It had the old tension turret, and we kind of learned a lot about that. But, when I pulled that off that rifle and kind of upgraded years ago, I absolutely kept that. It's still in the box. And I'm,
right.
There's a legacy behind that stuff. And I'm really curious. I want to go home now and look at the serial number and date it, because I don't know when he bought that scope, but it's pretty old.
Yeah, we can tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. That's special, but like a good point, like you just said, is that there's definitely importance behind that stuff. You don't want to just chuck it, and it's valuable.
Yeah. The other thing, going through the factory and seeing all the variety of products, then I believe you mentioned it yesterday, but the breadth of customers that you have, from the guy sitting in a whitetail stand to it was a sniper in the Middle East.
That's right.
I mean, it's
you think about the spectrum and the use, right? And I think that's what's great about the shooting sports and hunting and what we do all together, which is our only focus, frankly, and is the fact that there's just so many different disciplines to it, and so many different needs, and that's one of the reasons that we're unable to. It's really hard to do things like automation and stuff like that on a lot of things because we have so much variant between our different models. Even within a family of scopes, there's a huge variant between what they do, right? Because a 1-6 is very different than a 4-24. Right. And what the parts are required, the glass that's required, everything is completely different, even though it's within that same family.
Right.
And obviously what you do with a red dot optic or, it's a lot. So having the ability to do all of those at a high level of quality and make sure that you're delivering that consumer what they want, because a whitetail hunter has different needs than what a Western hunter does. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
There's some things that remain the same. You want, low light performance, you want incredible clarity and precision and all of that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other feature sets that are different for both of them.
Right. Yeah. And because you're not just selling in the United States too. I mean,
How
many
all
countries?
over the world. Yeah. Our allies all over the world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great hunting countries out there. We do a ton in some places. Big business in like New Zealand, and we do a big business in Spain, and we got some great, all over the world. So.
Yeah.
Another unique thing, I mean, kind of to that point with the diversity that Leupold's addressing is like Nick, you're in shooting, right? Like, so your area is not hunting related, and then you've got obviously your guys that are very hunting focused. You've got 730 some odd employees,
735,
and still there's a pretty like intact culture, a great culture that like everybody is kind of on the same page more or less, and that's impressive. Like, that's hard to achieve.
I just think our team has, I'll tell you what it is. It is, look, most of our, if you're in product marketing and sales, you hunt, right? I mean, that's you hunt, you shoot, the disciplines are certainly part of it, and you kind of have to be. But the reality of it is, I think our team is inspired because we don't push to be the biggest. That's not our goal. It's not our shareholders' goal. But we do say, we push to be the best. And I think people get inspired by that. I think they like when they walk into a factory every day going, you know what? I'm making stuff that we're going to put on one of our warfighters and it is going to work. Or I'm making something that's going to create an epic moment for this father and son and this elk hunt they've been waiting for a decade to go on together.
Right.
And those are the kind of things where I think our team just get inspired by that, because they can walk out of there and go, you know what? I was there 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it was, but I'm making the best product in the world.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what drives the culture.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a lot of pride in that for
Yep.
sure. I think that's really, I mean, it speaks to like, obviously what you've done as CEO, but I mean, I've been around, a handful of your team now, and everybody takes extreme ownership over every phase of what their hands are in. I mean, just like what we've experienced today here in the range has been mind blowing. So that's what's really cool is like, everyone's got their specialty, but there is a lot of ownership going on at every level. We saw that on the factory floor. We saw that, we see that with Kaylee, with customer service, people we met yesterday. It was everybody's operating at a pretty high level, and it's got to only be because they believe in what they're doing. And that's everything.
I appreciate that. It actually makes me feel really good because, I think we have an incredibly talented team and they're incredibly passionate about this company and where we're going. And I think the other thing is having family ownership. We actually do treat each other like a family. Do we have our issues with one another at times? Absolutely, we do, just like a family does.
Yeah.
But we do care about each other, and that comes across. And I think also when you have the amount of talent that we have, it attracts more talent.
Sure.
It just does, right? You got all of a sudden more people are like, you know what? That's a team I want to be a part of.
Right.
That's a team that knows how to win.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's sometimes you can, I just feel blessed to have a culture that, it in some ways it takes care of itself now because we got so many people and we stay so focused on what we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the unique thing that Chris and I feel blessed to be able to do was have the experience we did yesterday at the factory and your whole office and stuff, but then be able to come out here first thing this morning and put this stuff to use and really, and not just put the equipment to use, but I mean, in the first 2 hours on the range this morning, I learned more than I've learned in like 5-10 years of shooting. And I've never actually taken like a formal course, done any formal training. So I've always considered myself a pretty novice shooter, but I feel like today alone, there's like 3 or 4 things that are ingrained that I've leveled up with. And so that ability to like not only build a piece of equipment, but then instruct with it, have that translate to how you're more effective and more efficient on the range and with the firearm in your hands, like in any capacity. We're not done today. We still have more shooting to do, and I'm super stoked for that. But God, I even said like when we were on the range for a few hours, I was just like, this is just like it's a lot because like normally you go on the range, you sit on a bench, you get prone or whatever.
Yeah.
You're putting holes in targets, and you're trying to work on stuff. But this morning was really really cool to be able to go through some very focused drill and some instruction from your team.
Yeah, you keep saying the range, and everybody out there has a vision in their mind of what this range might look like, but you're probably wrong too, right? Because this is not just a range, Dick. I mean, tell us about the whole. Facility.
We have a lot of opportunity here to shoot in a number of different ways. Obviously, we have the 100-yard deck that we were shooting off of this morning and shooting at paper and, getting zeroed up and doing that. But we have the ability to shoot out at distance, right? We got out to 800-900 yards today. We have the ability to shoot off of a lot of different obstacles. So we have some PRS type, obstacles down on the line, but then we also have a hunt course that goes around the property as well. So, which is not only a great opportunity to test your shooting skills, but, Bruce and I and a lot of the other team have gone through and, hike the whole course, right? You want to test your gear for hunting season, what you need to bring, what you don't want to bring. Mm-hmm. This is a great opportunity to be able to do that,
right? And
really fine tune those skills and the gear that you need to be successful in the field. And we're very fortunate to have this property and be able to do that. And it's one thing to make the best scopes in the world, but you got to get out in the field and test them too, and experience what the consumers are experiencing as well, because that's going to help you. If someone has a problem or issue with something, you've already troubleshot that because you did it yourself.
Right.
So yeah.
Plus, you have the AR platform carbine range.
Yeah. We got a carbine range, a pistol range, the long gun stuff. We'll set up observation. Challenges as well. Everything to test all the gear that we make, the full breadth of product.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that you were talking about just how people are enthusiasts. They're hunters, they're shooters, and how many people from the factory have been out here to shoot. I mean, is it even on the shop?
Yeah, I mean,
floor,
this isn't commercial, right? So we use it strictly for things like we're doing today. But also, Nick and we have other instructors, Colby and Michael Bachelari will do this occasionally. We got a bunch of other folks that have the ability to be out here, but we'll work with whether it's, tier 1 type operators or local police departments or National Guard, or, I mean, we've had a lot of different folks out here
Right.
that will work on it. But the most important thing is what you were alluding to, which is getting our engineers out here and our product team out here,
Yeah.
and really, working on new product.
Right.
It's just a huge difference when you can get design and development and the optical engineers and get everybody kind of on the same page as to what we're trying to get done with the product. And, I'm really proud. You guys got to see it this morning. We came out early and you got to see kind of, low light
Yeah.
performance of our product, and it's second to none. And that's a lot of that has to do with what we do out here. Our engineers are constantly looking at, okay, how is that performing in low light? What can we do from a coating perspective to make it better? How do we manage the light better? How do the lenses take it? So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to a scope to get it to, and it's really our secret sauce.
Yeah.
We're really, really good at that.
When it is, I can't emphasize enough how utterly unique a scenario this is for your engineers to be able to come out here and shoot, and then 2 hours be back in their office on a machine working on that product that's then 25 feet away.
Yeah.
There's machines making that product.
Yeah,
Nobody else is doing this.
No. I mean, it's really hard if your engineers are in Asia.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't mean to, but it's true.
You don't speak English.
Don't hunt and don't shoot.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
hunt, don't shoot, don't
But,
speak English.
I mean, I
That's-
think that's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know?
something that seems like a great idea, maybe in the computer and a CAD program,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in the real world is not such a good idea.
Right.
But you don't know that if you're not out testing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So-
got to make you guys incredibly efficient, at bringing innovation and bringing in new
Mhm.
concepts. They're just running through new concepts to see if, like you said, it is valid or if it's not. That's, I was kind of wondering, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Bruce, but, obviously Leupold has a lengthy history. It's got a lot of heritage. What's kind of next step for Leupold? Like what's the horizon look like? What's the model going forward? Obviously you're not changing the model. It's not something you got to fix, but like, is there a way you'd kind of wrap up that whole approach?
We got so much opportunity out there. I mean, we've stayed really focused. I think it's often we have a lot of different things we can do, and so we have to say no to a lot of stuff that makes total sense to most people. Because I get the question more than anyone is how come you're not doing?
Yeah.
And the reality is that in magnified optics and rifle scopes, we've spent a lot of time, energy, and money and design time to we've got 85 engineers. It's not like we're not trying to keep a bunch of product coming, but that had to get to where it is today. A product like the Mark V, it is just really dominant in its space. And then, honestly, there's just so much other, our observation product we've been working hard on. We've got some great products coming down the line there, and we're going to continue to up our game. We've got some success in red dots, but we got a long way to go to take it to the next level. And I know we can. And I know our consumers want that from us.
Yeah, by no means would I ask you to let a cat out of the bag, but
I would.
we've been, Chris would, I would,
Yeah.
but we've been fortunate to, just even see some of the stuff outside the optics line, even just like some of the soft goods you guys are doing, and the level of quality, and like not settling for good enough is apparent. You can see that
if you're a product line manager at our company, you are not allowed to bring something that doesn't have a dominant performance is what we call it. And it's got to have a reason for being. It's got to have performance. It can't be just because it looks good. It's got to really have that. And I think that, our industry is interesting. I look at it a lot. There's a lot of fashion that goes on. And when I'm not talking about apparel, I'm talking about optics too, that stuff that's made just to look this way or look cool or whatever. And we want to do that. But at the end of the day, I know one thing for sure is when you buy a Leupold product, you're getting a product that performs. It absolutely will do what we say it's going to do.
Yeah.
And that has to happen. So we're not going to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall. We don't do that. When we bring it out, we're convinced that it's going to perform for the function that we designed it for.
I can appreciate the hell out of that. I mean, that's what we focus on our side of the fence with outdoorsmen and wilderness athletes. Is, with similar goals, like we're not looking to be the biggest, but we're looking to be the best, and that's our focus. And even if that means being slower to the punch, it's gonna be the right punch, and it's gonna land. So, it's all aligned with us for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're not dissimilar. You're a family-owned business, right?
Yeah.
You got your kids work there, and your son-in-law works there, and I think that it's a similar thing, and I think that's one of the big advantages to being family owned and private is, I care every day about how we perform, and I look at numbers when I wake up in the morning. I can't help it, but the reality is I don't have to.
Right.
And I know that we can invest for the long run, and I know some of my competitors have to every day worry, certainly on a quarterly basis, worry about their results.
Yeah.
And there's a big advantage to being private.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it shows, because you can tell people do feel that security. I think you and I talked about that a little bit on the way up yesterday, about when that your company's not going to get sold to some venture capitalist company 2 years from now. You look at your job and you think, I could be here my entire career if I bust my butt and do my part right. Whereas in so many other companies, you could be the model employee, and it's gonna get, if it gets sold to somebody, you could be without a job the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw on my calendar going an invite to, and I may be off a year because I didn't look, but I know he's been here. I think it's a 47-year. I think it's 47 years. Yeah.
47 years for what?
Tenure.
Oh,
Tenured
no
employee.
kidding.
So we're having a little get together for him.
celebration.
I think it's 47, might be 48, but it's a long time.
That's when I first started there. I noticed there were people there 20, 30, 40 plus years, and I knew that was a good sign.
Yeah.
Right. And
We had at one point we had, I don't think it's the same now, but we had, I want to say there was 12 people over 40 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Think about that.
That's a lot.
And it was in the it was like 38 people that were over 30 years.
Yeah.
And then when you get in the 20s, it's in the hundreds.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
So
That is special.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't think that happens too often these days. I don't know. It's like,
it seems like, especially
Really hard.
our generation, people jump around job to job all the time.
Yeah.
But to Bruce's point, it has that family feel, and it's fifth generation now, family owned too, which is special as well. So, and you have families in the factory working. Like my brother works there. A lot of my other coworkers have family members who work there. So there's like families in the family.
Yeah,
too,
we actively recruit.
yeah, that means something pretty big, for the community in Beaverton that you're in too, obviously. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you guys are based in Beaverton, and I think that's really cool to see that. You were telling us last night about some of the, local sponsorship stuff you guys do. You're pretty active in the community. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's it's not like we're not in a place that it has a lot of companies vying for talent, right? I mean, we got Columbia right across the freeway, and they do a pretty good job at what they do. And then Nike's not bad; those guys have built a nice business. And so plus Intel's there, and you keep going down the line, and there's a lot of competition. So it's really important for us to create a company that people want to be at.
Yeah.
They got to want to be there.
Yeah. There are
absolutely.
options. Yeah. Yeah. That's I didn't think about that. Like having those kind of major employers like right around you. It does create a talent pool that you can draw from, but it also sets you up to be drawn from if you're
Absolutely.
if you're not,
Absolutely.
I think the allure is like we have a couple of our newer, they've probably been a couple of years on the engineering team from the high tech industry.
really.
But now they get to work on something they're absolutely passionate about, right?
Right.
Which is I think the differentiator for them.
Right.
And being able then to use that product out in the field. This is something that, I guess you might use the chip that you help build a computer, but it's not the same thing, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're
and we
designing
encourage them to
shows-
get out in the field, right?
Yeah.
We help them do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I'm guessing your marketing team come October, November, it's a little hard to get everybody to stay home. Somebody's got to stay home.
Yeah.
Everybody hunts.
It's pretty active.
Yeah.
Their travel
Calendar
schedules.
starts to look like Swiss cheese with
Yeah.
all the in this day, out that day.
Yeah,
Ours does.
Yeah, I think the deal with us is real simple. It's a peak performance culture where, you can go do stuff that you want to do, and in some cases it's actually their job
Right.
to be out in the field and be filming or doing, getting PR or whatever they do. But the reality is you still have to get it done.
Yeah.
You gotta get it done, and you gotta get it done at a high level of quality. And so personally, as long as you're doing that, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we've got to get back to shooting because
The important
that's
stuff.
what we all really
We're all
want to
here.
do. We'd love to sit here and talk all day, but we'd rather go shoot guns. So, but what's on the schedule for this afternoon?
You know, I'm looking out there right now. It's warmed up, but you boys are from Arizona, so this is like
Okay.
winter weather for
It
you.
is practically.
But it's in the 90s, so it's gonna be warm. So we've got a course set up, and you know our team will be going with us, but we'll go out and shoot this hunter course, and Nick can give you. He's laid it out actually along with I think Colby and Matt, and they'll be able to give you the details on it. But what I will tell you that's great is these guys are so good at helping us as hunters because they've had to work with me, right? And so their job has been to fix all of the stuff that I do wrong, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's how they get so good at figuring out how to help us. So
Yeah.
they've had a good student.
You're over there hammering that deer at 600 yards pretty well today. So
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are good teachers.
He can shoot. He can shoot. He's just playing coy there. No, we have an awesome course set up, and so the stages is all blind. So you'll go in, you have to find the targets, you have to range them, figure out what your dope is going to be, and engage them in the proper order, similar to like an NRL hunter style setup. It's just again, it's great training. It gives you a little stress too, right? Your heart rate's going to be up, and to be able to do those small motor skills. Can you load your mag? When you're kind of like, I need to get, I'm under the clock. It's not apples to apples like you're going to be out in the field like on a hunt, but it's going to help you be a better hunter and shooter for sure.
I think cool. The one thing I got from this morning, and I think the value at all this is like you're getting that confidence, and like especially we're here in August, so season's right around the corner, and to be able to go in with some confidence and having been in these scenarios where it's familiar territory and you don't have that moment where it's like, shoot, I got to shoot off a tripod. How am I going to get that done? There's a lot of scenarios that just by being there in some repetitions, it takes your confidence so much further. And that, at least for me, is it's huge, in a hunting scenario.
It is because, I think the thing that we try to do out here is, I take what I'm going to take into the field. I may not have every piece, but I want to be darn close with my pack, what I'm going to have in terms of my rifle, the weight of my pack, kind of trying to do everything that is going to be as close as I can to when I'm actually, on a hunt. And I do this every year so that, because there's just things like getting your pack off.
Yeah.
How does it work properly? How do you get it down? How do you get in position? How are you getting, 3 points of contact? All of those things that sitting at a range and putting holes in a paper target on a bench, you don't get that.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You should shoot like that, like crazy. I mean, that helps in so many ways. But it's not the same for a hunter and you guys have seen it before, as people that are really good shots and really, really not good hunters.
Right.
And I've been in that situation where I know I've sat with someone and watched them shoot really well in the range, and then I'm out in the field with them. It's like, because they can't figure out how to get themselves in a place to actually take an animal.
Yeah. We actually we did a short series in Western Hunter magazine about NRL, and because it really hit me hard. I'm a bow hunter. I'm a rifle hunter. I actually probably rifle hunt more than I bow hunt, but I'll shoot in any given year. I don't keep track, but I'm 3,000, 4,000 arrows a year probably. And I shoot a lot more than the average guy, but I'm 400 rounds downrange in a year. And that's a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
And it's just important to do the bench thing. You got to know everything's zeroed and everything.
Absolutely.
But to do what we're going to do this afternoon, that's the real test.
And I think next year we're going to get Kevin out on an NRL hunter match.
Oh,
so I'm going to take him under my wing a little bit, and we're going to go shoot one.
Yeah.
And it's going to be awesome.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited just to finish the day. And anyways, I can't thank you guys enough.
Yes.
Like Bruce,
awesome.
your whole team, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the hospitality, the instruction, the facilities here. The opportunity we've had is just unbelievable. So we're not done yet, and we'll see how the finish is today. I'm kind of excited to shoot in the heat. As uncomfortable as that might be. But in Arizona, a lot of times you're drawing those like early October tags.
Yeah, you're in it.
And if you're on a whitetail on a buck and you got to sit on it and you're behind your rifle for 20, 30 minutes or whatever, waiting for him to get from behind that ocotillo or something, that's an element you got to deal with. Rather than being in the shade all the time. It's we're gonna feel it. So this will be fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming up and spending time with us. And look, we love Western Hunter magazine. We're fans, that.
Appreciate that.
just we use Wilderness Athlete, and this is all stuff that we've been doing. So I just couldn't be more pleased with our partnership and everything we do together. So thank you guys and the whole team, Courtney,
Likewise.
and the whole crew.
Yeah, they're all jealous. They're not here, so we'll have some pictures for them.
Yeah. Make them more jealous.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Western Hunter Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you would, please go to iTunes or any other platform that you're listening to this podcast on and leave us a review. Apparently that makes a big difference in helping people find our podcast, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you're enjoying the show, not enjoying the show, topics you'd like us to cover, maybe people that you want to hear from. We're always looking for new and different, interesting conversations, so feel free to email me. Send that directly to chris@westernhunter.net. Our sponsorships are huge. Sponsorships are important. It's the only way we can keep going. So for more information on Browning ammunition, Browning guns, you can go to browning.com. Check out that speed line of clothing. You won't regret it. Thanks again for listening, folks. We'll be back in a couple weeks.